formally open the council meeting. I would also like to remind everybody, in accordance with the council's code of meeting practice, this meeting is being live streamed. And if you are not talking, could you please turn off your microphones? Excuse me. The acknowledgement of the country and prayer of council and affirmation will be read by Chief Executive Officer Dr. Eddie Jackson.
You're on mute, Eddie.
You're on mute.
My apologies. Good evening, Madam and Councillors. Acknowledgement of country. To begin proceedings, we'd like to acknowledge the traditional custodians of the land on which we meet and their ancestors past and present, the Cabirgal clan of the Darug Nation. I also acknowledge that this land was accessed by peoples of the Darawal and Darug Nations. The affirmation of council. We affirm our hope and dedication to the good government of our city and the well-being of all of Liverpool's residents, no matter their race or creed. Tonight we affirm our hope for sound decision-making by council, which will improve the quality of life in our city. We express our expectations and best wishes for Australia, our nation's future, the Mayor, councillors and staff of council, and all those associated with good government in Liverpool. The prayer of council. For the God of our faith, we who are gathered at Liverpool City Council pray for the good government of our city. We pray for the well-being of all Liverpool's residents, no matter their race, gender or creed. Tonight we pray for sound decision-making by council, which can improve the quality of life in our city. We pray for Australia, our nation's future, for the Mayor, councillors and staff of council, and all those associated with good government in Liverpool. Amen.
Thank you. Do we have any apologies? No apologies, thank you. Do we have any condolences? The minutes of the ordinary meeting held on the 25th of November.
Confirmation. Thank you, Madam Mayor.
I've got one slight amendment.
Moved by Councillor Shelton and amendment by Councillor Haggerty. Yes, Councillor Haggerty.
Now I'm clicking everywhere trying to find page 13 of the book. There's a reference to... Alright, I found it. Councillor Achidi declared a non-pecuniary blah 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 blah. The reason Councillor Haggerty knows a nominee. I think that should read Councillor Achidi personally knows a nominee. The first one. So,
thank you. So with that amendment, are you happy to second it?
Yeah, sure.
Thank you, Councillor Haggerty. I'll put it. Those in favour, those against, declare it carried. Declarations of interest?
Yes, thank you, Madam Mayor. In relation to item Conf 02, a long time in the past, I think I've had business dealings with one of the parties involved, and I know several of them anyway. I'm going to call it non-pecuniary, non-significant, and I don't intend to leave the room for a long time in the past, I believe. Thank you.
No worries. Thank you.
It was same for me, Madam Mayor. CONFO2, the Tourism and CBD Committee, new community representatives. Non-pecuniary, less than significant, as I know people that have been nominated. I know those people in the course of community engagements, and I will stay in the room and I will be participating in the voting.
Thank you very much, Councillor. Any others?
Yes, Mayor. Sorry.
Councillor Chitty?
I have two, Mayor. First one is COM 02. Non-pecuniary, less than significant. I'm a foundation member of the club. And the other one is Conf 02. Some of the nominees are known to me in my capacity as a councillor.
Thank you. Any others?
Yeah, they're both the same as Councillor Hachidi. I'm a foundation member of the club, and I know some of these people in my capacity as a councillor.
Okay, thank you very much.
Madam Mayor, I would also like to declare an interest in Conf 02 as I serve on a board with one of the community representatives in the course of my duties as a councillor.
Yeah, Madam Mayor, I'd like to declare one too, the same as everyone else. I know some of these people, non-pecuniary, non-significant.
Thank you, Councillor Blute. Any others?
Madam Mayor, sorry, have I missed something? My daughter was crying, so I missed all of that.
We're just doing any interests, any declarations of interest.
Okay, my nom actually refers to my husband. So do I have to, not my nom, sorry, it's a question with notice. So my husband is mentioned in that. Do I have to declare an interest in that because it's a question of notice?
It's your decision, councillor. I'm not trying to be difficult. You have to make up your own decision whether you think people would see it as being unethical or difficult or whatever. So you have to make your own mind up.
Okay, I won't be declaring an interest in that to my question. Thank you, Madam Mayor.
Any other declarations? None? Thank you very much, councillors. Next item is public forum, and we don't have any items on the agenda, and we have no representations on the agenda. We don't have a mayoral minute, so the next item on the agenda is found on page 78.
I have a couple of questions.
Okay, councillor, what are your questions?
Is it to me or Councillor?
Councillor Rhodes, you have a question?
Yes, thank you. Now, thank Council very much for the report and all the information. I believe the professors cited in the report were also involved in a study project based on a similar proposal in Queensland, where the statistical outcomes were measured through a funding program, fortunately from their state government, and I think it might have been a university, either there or in Sydney. Now, will this project, will we be able to have the same statistical outcomes measured in the recommendation of this motion in a similar way?
I'll ask the council staff through the CEO.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Mr. Smith.
Thank you. Through the acting CEO, Ms. Mardini, are you able to comment on that, please?
We can take it on notice.
That's right. Ms. Mardini, are you there?
Well, while we're finding her,
take it on notice.
We'll take that on
notice. And perhaps the next question, the way that I read it with all the figures and information of how many cats we've got in the Liverpool LGA and approximating how many cats would be desexed at each desexing program, which I think was 500. I'm not sure if I read that correct. But 2,000 cats anyway in one given year. You know, if the cats weren't increasing all the time, it would take us 10 years to get on top of this matter. But disregarding that, the real possibility of getting on this on top of this situation would only be achievable over time if we were desexing more cats than their population growth in the LGA. So my question was, can we find out how many cats would have to be desexed in order to decrease the number of cats? And that can be taken on notice.
I think that should be taken on notice. Thank you very much, Councillor Rhodes. Councillor Caliendo, you have your hand up.
Yes, thank you, Madam Mayor. I'd also like to thank the staff for their really comprehensive report and the information provided. I just wanted to ask, and again, this can be taken on notice, if you have some figures around the costs associated with implementing the recommendations, whether there's sort of an outline of what the cost to council could be, both financially and otherwise, of not taking any action.
Through the acting CEO, certainly happy to take that information on notice, Councillor. I do recall that there was some information that was circulated to councillors yesterday in relation to that matter, but I'm happy to circulate that again to councillors.
Madam Mayor, as this is just...
Hold on, Councillor Rhodes. Councillor Rhodes, you haven't got the call. It's Councillor Caliendo, and then there'll be Councillor Haggerty, and then it'll be you. So, Councillor Caliendo, have you finished?
Yes, I have. Thank you, Madam Mayor.
Thank you. Councillor Haggerty?
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Just a couple of questions and comments. Page 2 of this plan. So I'm going to confuse everyone now with the page numbers, which is page 83 of the minute. The plan, basically where it's describing the 3 dot points around the plan. So desexing, education and containment, identification and registration. That's fine if the cats are, I guess, owned by someone, but what if they're quote unquote uncontrolled cats or feral cats? It's going to be, how do you desex them? How do you educate them? They don't have owners. And how do you identify them for registration? So there's a bit of a gap in this plan, I think.
Okay, thank you. Do we have a response from council staff on that question?
Ms Mardini?
I think we'll take that on notice.
Okay. That through the CEO.
Yep.
This is a draft plan. What we intend to do is submit the draft plan for review to the Companion Animals Advisory Committee once it's established early in the new year. Obviously, how we deal with feral cats is quite a difficult situation. This is, particularly focused on domestic cats, but we acknowledge that that's a significant issue. And the reason we're asking for endorsement of the draft, can continue those discussions with both community members and experts in the field through the committee as well, to report back a final plan to council early in the new year.
Okay. There's also a question about, I think it's 30%, I can't find at the moment, but basically a significant number of tags have the wrong contact details and address details. 37% have the wrong details. That's page 89 or page 8 of the report. Do we have a plan to address that, or are there privacy issues around, I guess, finding out where these people have moved to and live and say, come and get your cat?
Through the...
I'll ask them. Yeah.
Yep, through the CEO. Thank you. Absolutely. So as part of the action plan, it's a communications campaign as well to inform people that if you move properties, to update your details. So there's an element that people move from property to property and don't realise that they need to update the pet register. So there's an element of a communications campaign and education to the community that we intend to roll out in the new year.
Okay. And just one last one. There's references to the RSPCA in there. Is there a reason we aren't or don't work with the Animal Welfare League? Do they not look after cats or take cats? You can take that
through the CEO.
Mr. Smith?
We can certainly, through the CEO, we can certainly look at including that in the plan. We do work with a range of animal welfare organisations, so if we need to reference those associations, we can certainly do so.
Okay. And given this is a draft, if we have any other ideas, suggestions, we can feed them through to you in the when appropriate. All right, thank you. That's it from me.
Councillor Rhodes, you're next.
Madam Mayor, we can see that there are a number of questions that we have got which really will only be addressed by the Companion Animals Advisory Committee when it is formed. I'm happy to move this motion on the basis that it is endorsing the draft urban plan management plan in principle and action plan in principle for further consultation and advice from the Companion Animals Advisory Committee, and further report with all of those questions answered, brought back to the council.
I'll second that, Madam Mayor.
Thank you. Seconded by Councillor Caliendo. Councillor Hachiti, you have something you want to say?
Yeah, Mayor, thank you. I'll speak against this plan, based on the response from the council officers the other day, I just can't see how we can justify spending $185,000 on this plan, given that it's only costing us currently, or in 2019, it cost council $33,000, and seems like we've got it under control. Prior to 2015, and this is according to the response, before we started following the Companion Animals Legislation Act, yes, we took a lot of cats and they were surrendered cats. Now we don't take them anymore. All of a sudden now we're going to spend $185,000 on a problem which I don't think we have. The response says this year 11 cats have been impounded, which has cost council $11,000, and that was up until the animal shelter was closed, and Rossmore Vet has been instructed not to accept surrendered cats. So if there's a program in place at the moment, we're spending $7,000 on microchipping and some de-sexing subsidies. So there's a plan in place at the moment which costs us a hell of a lot less, yet we want to reinvent the wheel and do something where something is currently working. Hence I'll be speaking against or voting against it.
Well, you've just spoken against it as well, so thank you, Councillor. Have we got any speakers for the motion, please? Not
I'm happy
Councillor
to
Rhodes.
speak for it.
Councillor Hagan.
I take on board Councillor Hitchiti's comments, but because we're spending less on it doesn't make the problem go away. What's effectively happened is, the cats don't disappear; they still exist. They're still being fed. They're still rummaging through people's bins. They're still, attacking native wildlife. They're still attacking people's pets. So the problem is still there. So while we've solved the problem of how many turn up to our facilities and how much it costs the ratepayer, we haven't dealt with the problem that has created, which is, there are still cats out there. So this additional funding and this additional program will deal with the cats. The cats are still there.
Thank you. That's the speaker for. Do we have any other speakers against besides Councillor Chitty? Do you want to write a reply, Councillor Rhodes?
Yes, if I may, Madam Mayor. I note Councillor Hitchiti's concerns. There's lots of concerns regarding the information that has been provided to us, and we certainly provided lots of questions back that need to be answered and addressed in this urban cat management plan and action plan. And the fact that it's going back to the Companion Animals Advisory Committee, and we're going to receive a further report on it, where then we will decide whether we will adopt it or not. I see nothing wrong with this particular motion. But on the de-sexing, as I pointed out, I think we can de-sex 2,000 cats, which is twice as many as we de-sexed previously through the programs run at council. If this was adopted for the $40,000 to be spent on de-sexing, and we've been told by this report there's approximately 60,000 cats in the Liverpool area. Of course, some of those would already be de-sexed, and it doesn't address the problem of how we are ever going to convince people to bring cats in what de-sexing plans that might be put forward through this cat management plan. There's a mountain of other questions, one being not the least of who's on the Companion Animals Advisory Committee. We haven't even been advised of that, and I as a councillor would like to be on that committee.
You are on the committee.
The recommendation needs to go forward so that all these questions and issues can be addressed, and then it gets brought back to council, and council then has the opportunity to decide whether they want to endorse the plan and the management and action plan. So on that basis, I'm quite happy for this to go forward, because obviously there are a lot of questions and concerns from councillors, and this is the best way of having those questions and answers delivered.
Thank you, councillor. I'll put it to a vote. I think we might do who's against the motion. Those hands that are up, are they still up for a reason? Thank you. So those that are against, please put your hand up. That might be easier. So Councillor Chitty, Councillor Blute. I'm just going through. Okay. So 2 against. I declare it carried. Next item is on enforcement policy review on page 99.
Well, Madam Mayor, I'm against as well.
That's 3 of you. It's still got the numbers carry it.
Madam Mayor, I'm also.
4. Okay, thank you. The numbers still carry it. Thank you. Next item. I'm sorry, your name's showing up on my list for some reason. I apologise, councillors. I'll use the sheet in a sec. Sorry. So the next item's on page 99.
Madam Mayor, I have got, I'd like to make some alterations to the policy for consideration.
What is your amendment, councillor? Or what is your motion?
Well, the motion would be, as per the book, with a couple of others added in, that we receive and note this report and approve with the amendments, which I'm yet to tell you, and that we carry out an external audit of council's compliance to address risk and processes and report back to the June council meeting to better enable councillors' assessment of the effectiveness of the enforcement policy.
So did the typist get all that? Right, okay, thank you. We got a seconder for that motion?
Happy to second it, Madam Mayor.
Before we go through with the seconder, did Mr. Smith want to say something?
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Through the CEO, whilst this is a matter for council, I would just like to draw the councillors' attention to the fact that it is no longer an enforcement policy, it is an enforcement standard. In accordance with council's adopted policy drafting standard, this report has been brought back to council from a previous resolution. However, as part of that review of the policy, it was determined to be a standard, and standards are approved by the CEO, so therefore the policy is revoked. But this was brought forward for the councillors' information, and the recommendation was to receive and note the report.
Thank you, Mr. Smith. Well, given that information, I think I would have to ask this particular recommendation be adopted because it is a standard and not a policy any longer. So it's receive and note. So it's a different situation, Councillor Rhodes and Councillor Hall, to what I think you both expected.
I'm not moving the motion, Madam Mayor.
Thank you. I appreciate that.
Can I assist?
Yes, go ahead.
What about receives and notes the report, refers the standard to ARIC to address risk, blah, 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 blah. So from where it says to address risk in Councillor Rhodes' bit, just everything from there. Yes. Yep.
Mr. Smith, is that in keeping with the standard?
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Through the CEO, I don't believe that causes any issues, but I'll be guided by the CEO and the Director of City Corporate in relation to the ARIC committee.
Madam Mayor.
Well, it's not much different from the motion that I had before. Madam
Thank you, Councillor Rhodes. Shush. Go ahead, please. Go.
Just putting it out.
Madam Mayor, I would like to seek clarification in regard to the function, whether that's consistent with the function of the ARIC committee from Mr. Hampouris.
Thank you. Through the CEO, no problems at all. At the end of the day, the ARIC look at improvement, risk, efficiency, and if we package the report to actually benchmark that against our policy and our current policy position, I think it's got a place for the ARIC to provide some advisory on.
I'm happy to.
As a chair, I just want to ask for some clarification. Is the current amendment or current motion is moved by Councillor Rhodes, which hasn't got a mover and a seconder at the moment. Is that in order with this being a standard?
I believe so, yes.
Okay, thank you. That's all I needed to know. Thank you very much. Is there any speakers for this or against? I'll put it, those in favour, those against, declare it carried. Next item
Madam
on
Mayor, you
page.
can record me as voting against, thanks.
Okay, thank you, Councillor Shelton. Next item's on page 101.
I'll move that as per the book, Madam Mayor.
Thank you,
Second,
Councillor
Councillor Addy.
Brianda. Thank you, Deputy Mayor. Any opposition?
Can I just ask a question, Madam Mayor? Is there
Yes, what is?
Is there any community representative on that committee?
Through the CEO.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I would draw the councillor's attention to, we have a number of not-for-profit organisations, training organisations. We also have Liverpool Neighbourhood Connections. And I would point out that all of those bodies are deeply involved and in contact with communities through their day-to-day work, albeit informal or statutory body agencies.
And
thank you.
One further question, if I may, Madam Mayor.
Yes,
when
Councillor.
Recommending endorse the membership applications from the agencies below, who attends the meeting from those organisations?
A representative from the agencies.
So it could be a different person each time.
Well, having actually attended these for some time, yes, that is the case quite often.
And it doesn't create any issues or problems?
No, I haven't seen it as such, because they take the information back to the organisation and they also bring the information from that organisation to that forum.
Okay, thank you, Madam Mayor.
Thank you. We have a mover and a seconder. If we get any opposition, I'll put it, those in favour, those against, declare it carried. Next item's on page 104.
I'd like to move a motion, Madam Mayor.
Yes, certainly, Councillor.
So it would be 1, that Council place option 1 package for sponsorship of the Macarthur FC A-League team on public exhibition for 28 days. I'm just waiting for the typist.
Yep.
So that comes option 1, public exhibition for, 28 days. And then number 2 is that the sponsorship package 1 be finalised subject to a letter of support from Macarthur FC A-League team for a stadium in the Liverpool LGA.
Okay.
I'd be happy to second, Mayor, if Councillor Ayard
Oh, sorry, Madam.
doesn't say option 1.
I've made a mistake. Sorry, it says option 1 package. Sorry, so not $0. It's supposed to be the $25,000 package on page 105, option 1 package, it says.
Okay.
So
I
supposed
thought
to be
that's what you intended.
Yeah, it's supposed to be option 1.
So 28 days and
Thank you,
support
Councillor.
letter. Thank you. Seconded by Councillor Chitty.
Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you. Any opposition?
I'll speak in opposition only because I think option 3 is the
Before
better
you speak,
Yep.
just hold your horses. Councillor, did you wish to speak to your motion at this point?
I do, Madam Mayor.
Go ahead.
Sorry, just pardon me. I'm just rereading that just to make sure that's what I intend. Page 105. Okay, so I'm a little bit confused. The typist has got I wanted the $25,000 package, option 1 package. on page 105 of the agenda. And then that the sponsorship package be finalised subject to a letter of support from Macarthur FC for a stadium in the Liverpool LGA.
And with through the mayor, I wonder if it would be worthy including in that particular motion that includes them to play games.
Yes.
At a facility in the Liverpool LGA. So it's a lot to be negotiated.
Well, that's the whole intention. And I do believe, through the chair, if I may, I do believe if we do have a stadium that they would come along and play, because I mean, even in the report before us on page 104, they've stated that their territory includes the Liverpool LGA. Council have been long-time supporters of Macarthur FC. The gentleman there and the gentleman on the board and the leaders of that group do an amazing job. And I think Liverpool City Council would be at a loss if we didn't receive a letter of support from them. Basically, this letter of support can be used in future bids for a stadium in Liverpool. After all, it is their territory. It's also our ratepayers' money, and we also deserve a stadium, and we deserve to host games and for a team to come along and for kids in our district to go and watch these games, watch training sessions, and also be part of Macarthur FC. So I call on all my fellow councillors to support this. I am open to changes in the motion. Now, the reason I did go for option 1 package is just now under the current circumstances and our financial situation, I would prefer to stick to the $25,000. But I am open to changes, or if other fellow councillors would like to add anything. Thank you, Madam Mayor.
Thank you very much, Councillor. Councillor Haggerty, you indicated you wish to speak against.
Yeah, only as an opportunity to take up Councillor Ayad's offer of, throwing some additional options in there. Option 3 would be my. So happy with the 25, but and happy with the thing about a stadium. It'd be wonderful to have a stadium. We are, Sydney's third CBD. We should have a stadium and sports facilities that reflect that. So completely supportive of that. I think option 3 is probably the better go for us. The option 2, which is basically a standard package. Here's the list of what you got, and you get what you're given. I think option 3 would be much better, where our community team and maybe even some of our other departments can actually, go to the Macarthur Bulls and say, here are some areas of need. Here are some projects we're working on. Would you want to support that instead? So, I'm not sure if we need what's being on offered there. So, and my understanding is that the Macarthur Bulls prefer that option as well. That they'd be happy to sit down and work with council and do something tailored based on where the need is in Liverpool. So, 25k, but option 3 where we work out something that's more tailored to what Liverpool's after.
Madam Mayor, can I just clarify? You mean option 3 on page 105?
Options, as in identify the amount of sponsorship, allocate funds, instruct staff to negotiate a tailored sponsorship package.
I'm just a little bit concerned with that because it doesn't have a monetary value, and with our current financial situation at council, I'm really not comfortable leaving it open. I'd prefer for there to be a monetary value. Now, with that information, Madam Mayor,
can I just stop you, Councillor? I'm being very kind here. Yeah. We've actually got the rules of debate. You've had your turn, Councillor Haggerty's had his turn. Hold your thoughts for your reply. Have we got anybody else that wishes to speak for the motion?
Mayor, question, if I may.
Certainly.
Can we, a question through the CEO, I take it to Miss Bono, just get an update on these negotiations and what other packages you think are available through the Macarthur Bulls?
Yep. CEO?
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I would refer councillors to page 110 and 11, where the recommendations are set out there in regard to monetary value of the third option as well. I'll ask Mrs. Bono.
Thank you. Through the CEO, as Eddie identified, our CEO identified, page 101, 111 has the allows the councillors to provide a monetary value, and then we can negotiate with Macarthur FC on a proposed way forward. We could align it better to our strategic outcomes of council and also the strategic alignment to city, community and culture outcomes in our in recreation and sport. So I provided that flexibility in the report to allow councillors the opportunity for us to start those conversations. We've had some conversations with Macarthur FC, but without further endorsement from our councillors, I haven't engaged on any commitments. They've just been conversations at this point.
So sorry, through you again, Mayor, if I may, to Ms. Bono. Are we better off than just endorsing a monetary value and not the actual option, and then leaving it to yourself and your team to negotiate on what's best?
That would be a preferred way forward.
All right, so councillors negotiate a value.
Sorry, can I just clarify something, Madam Mayor?
Yes, certainly, councillor.
Is that not the gist of option 3, where, you know, it's left to us in the first sentence, it says identify the amount of sponsorship. So is that not left to identify the amount of sponsorship? So we can say, for example, $25,000, and then option 3 allows the details of the sponsorship to be delegated to the staff to negotiate?
Through the CEO, that is correct.
That's correct.
Thank you. Councillor Rhodes, you've got your hand up.
Yes, Madam Mayor, I was wondering if I could ask a question about the current motion.
Yes, certainly.
I believe that you can combine, you don't need to say option 1, package for sponsorship of $25,000 excluding GST, but you could say that more along the lines of option 3 and still allocate a dollar ceiling to to start that negotiation. But I think
thank you for that. Now we've got lots of hands up here. Councillor Caliendo, have you had your turn? Yes, thank you. No. You have another question?
Question, but also like a bit of a concern. I know on page 109 in the report, it says it's noted that the $20,000 paid by Camden Council gives them similar outcomes that Macarthur FC have offered to Liverpool City Council for $50,000. My concern is that should we endorse package 1 as it stands without kind of delegating to staff to further negotiate, we actually lock ourselves into a poorer deal than other councils have. Can someone?
Okay, I'll ask the CEO.
I'm not quite clear on your question, Councillor Calianda.
My question is more around, part of the report notes that the packages that have been offered may not necessarily be the best bang for buck. So can staff sort of expand a little bit on that point and how we may be able to work around that?
Well, again, I suppose that leads us to the option of being able to negotiate something that will give us the best bang for our buck. In terms of the actual discussions that I've had, I'll refer to Mrs. Bono.
Thank you. Through the CEO, the flexibility in option 3 will allow us to have those conversations and provide a better aligned outcome for council. So, and that's why we noted the Camden proposal, where it was a better alignment to their outcomes and a better outcome in terms of their their sponsorship arrangement. So that's a recommended way forward in terms of our preliminary conversations with Macarthur SC, and in terms of align it better to the better outcomes of council and a better package, and option 3 allows for that flexibility to occur.
Great, thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Chitty, did you wish to speak for the motion?
No, Mayor, sorry. Am I going blind? But I can't see option 3 anywhere in my report. Sorry, unless I'm going really blind.
Page 105.
Page 105. Thank you. Thanks. No, I'm good, Mayor.
Good. Thank you. Do we have any other speakers against the motion?
Yeah, Madam Mayor, through you. Option 3 again sounds good to me, but doesn't have a dollar value. Does that mean it could range from 25 to 50 to 60 to 70,000? Can someone just clarify that, please?
Well, it's asking us to specify the amount. So we should just say option 3, 25,000.
As the seconder, I'd be happy with that.
Okay, thank you. We just told
Madam Mayor.
Can I get an answer, Madam Mayor, on that option 3? I mean, I'm in favour.
I'll ask the CEO to answer the question, Councillor Balut.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I'd refer Councillor Balut to page 110. At the very bottom of the page, it specifies that council identify either the $25,000 or $50,000 as the amount of sponsorship it wishes to provide from general revenue, and then goes on to put further detail to that around tailoring the actual package.
Thank you, CEO. Yeah, I've got that. Thank you. Then I think option 3 sounds pretty flexible to me.
Thank you. Councillor, would you like your right of reply?
Yes, Madam Mayor. So with regard to what my fellow councillors have said, I'm happy to change number 1 to place option 3 on public exhibition for 28 days, but I do want this capped at $25,000.
That's fine, thank you.
So, and then also it's still, even though staff will be negotiating, it's still subject to the letter of support for a stadium. So basically,
thank you, Councillor.
Okay, thank you, Madam Mayor. I'm happy with that.
Thank you for that. You've had your right of reply. I would like George to put the voting thing up, please. Councillor Ayed's voting for, I would gather.
Madam Mayor, can I have clarification, please?
Sorry, Councillor. What's the problem, Councillor Rhodes?
I'm just worried about, is that still appropriate as shown on page 105 of the agenda? Because we've changed it.
It's saying
option 3.
The sponsorship of $25,000.
Is it still on page 105 of the agenda? It's just a simple question.
It is. I'll ask the CEO for clarification.
Thanks, Madam Mayor. The reference on page 105 to option 3 is part of the recommendations where we just set them out for simplicity. The more detailed version of that is in the report itself and is fully articulated on page 110. But they essentially are the same thing.
Thank you. Okay, we'll go back. We've got Councillor Balut, Councillor Chitty.
For Mayor.
I would make. Councillor Deputy Mayor Councillor Did.
For.
Councillor Haggerty.
For.
Councillor Hull.
For.
Councillor Caliander.
For, Madam Mayor, thank you.
Councillor Carnib.
For.
Thank you. Councillor Rhodes.
Yep, for.
Councillor Shelton.
For, thank you, Madam Mayor.
I declare it carried. Thank you very much.
Can we
Next
record that
item
as unanimous?
Yes, certainly. Next item is conflict of interest policy on page 112.
Move that way, thank you, Madam Mayor.
One simple question before we move it, Madam Mayor.
Seconded, Madam Mayor.
Well, it's been moved by Councillor Shelton and seconded by Councillor Didd. What is your question, Councillor Rhodes?
Be a policy this time?
Yes, it's a policy.
Because the last one was entitled to policy as well. And then we were told that it's not actually a policy. I just want clarification.
I'll ask the CEO, Councillor.
Thanks, Madam Mayor. The previous policy was being rescinded, and in line with our new framework, it was redefined then as a standard rather than a policy. The policy in that referred to the original status that it was granted. This one remained as a policy.
Thank you, CEO.
Thank you, Madam Mayor.
Thank you. Is there any opposition? I'll put it, those in favour, those against, declare it carried. Next item's on page 133.
Move that way. Thank you, Madam Mayor.
Thank you, Councillor Shelton. Seconded.
Madam Mayor.
Thank you, Councillor Rhodes. Is there any opposition? I'll put it, those in favour, those against, declare it carried. Next item is on page 142.
Move that way.
I'll second that, Madam Mayor.
Thank you. Moved by Councillor Haggerty, seconded by Councillor Kelly-Anna. Any opposition? None. I'll put it. Those in favour, those against, declare it carried. Next item's on 147.
I have a motion, Madam Mayor.
What is your motion, Councillor?
That Council receives and notes this report. The report and further statistics be reported to workshop to review the DCP and LEP and BASIC revision, and that air quality at all major traffic routes through Liverpool be included in the air monitoring program.
Thank you. We've got a seconder.
Seconded, Madam Mayor.
Thank you, Councillor Hall. Do you wish to speak to your motion, Councillor?
Yes, Madam Mayor, I appreciate all that Council is doing, and particularly with the monitoring to be around facilities such as the area, those types of industries that we are possible high polluting industries. But I think that we need to look at that in review of our DCP, LAP and BASICs, which I believe we may be able to do in the new year. And I also would like that the quality of air be monitored at traffic routes throughout the Liverpool LGA, the major traffic routes, so that we have a base figure of what it is now so that we can monitor it to see if it is improving or going down. Or going up.
Thank you, Councillor. Have we got anybody who wishes to speak against?
I've got a question when you're ready. Thanks, Madam Mayor.
Yes, go ahead, Councillor Shelton.
Yeah, I'm not specifically against the motion, but I'm just wondering whether somebody can address the question of cost in relation to this. I know that Councillor Rhodes has changed traffic routes to major traffic routes, but there's still some room for interpretation as to how many traffic routes and how frequently on those traffic routes these monitoring stations are going to appear and what the likely cost of it is. As I said, I'm not specifically against it, but I'm just querying whether somebody can address the likely cost in relation to as much. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. I'll through the CEO.
And I'll ask Mr. Aitar if he can shed some light on that.
Through the CEO, thank you, Councillor Shelton, for that question. So the proposal that is in the report is for 4 monitoring stations, which will be monitored over a period of 3 months. The cost of that is $50,000. So we will, I suppose, the recommendation or the motion that is being moved needs to give us a bit more clarity about the period and the number of stations so that we can then cost it and come back to council, or we could actually have a look at those sites that are potentially are known for high levels of air pollution. Then we could come back with a proposal to council. But to answer the question, it is $50,000 for the 4 stations over a period of 3 months. Thank you.
So I have trouble reconciling 4 stations in the LGA with what the motion presently says, which is all major traffic routes.
Yeah.
Madam Mayor, perhaps I can take Councillor Shelton's motion, very wise words into consideration, and that the third point get changed to that council prepare a report on costings and possibility of monitoring air quality changes at all major traffic routes through Liverpool in an ongoing air monitoring program. How about that? Would that cover it?
Well, I think yes. I think what you're doing is picking up on the sentiment. So, yeah, that's good. That's a good idea. And, yeah, thank you.
Built into a program moving forward.
Yeah, that makes sense. Thank you very much. Is there any opposition?
Yeah, I'm opposed.
Thank you. Would you like to speak?
Yeah, this is a bit of a, I guess what the motion that's being put forward is a bit of a sort of, it's circular. This report's come to us because we put up a motion about air quality. We get the report back and now we're putting up a motion about a report on air quality. I just find it all a bit confusing. So I obviously appreciate that Liverpool has some of the, regularly comes up with the worst air quality in New South Wales, if not Sydney. And that's only going to get worse when the intermodal arrives and the geniuses decide to truck fuel out to the airport rather than build a fuel line. But yeah, I can't support the motion in its current state. Sorry.
Thank you. We have got any other speakers for the motion? None. Would you like your right of reply, Councillor Rhodes?
Yes, I would, Madam Mayor. I appreciate Councillor Haggerty's advice, but I do believe that we have got the report and we are doing some good things. I don't think that by suggesting other things that we know that should be done, it's important for council and Liverpool residents to be aware of the changes in our community and if that is having an impact on our air quality. It gives us the opportunity to perhaps make changes when we come time to review the DCP, LEP and BASICs. It all ties in together. So I don't see anything wrong with this motion as put. It is definitely addressing a need for Liverpool. So I do ask all councillors to vote for it.
Thank you very much. George, could you put up the voting sheet, please? Thank you. Councillor Ayard, are you for or against?
Madam Mayor, I'm against.
Thank you. Councillor Balut?
Against, Madam Mayor.
Councillor, I can't even read the writing. Councillor Chitty?
Against, Mayor.
Deputy Mayor Hadid?
Against.
Councillor Haggerty?
Against. Is it too late to foreshadow?
No, you can do that straight after this. Councillor Haggerty against. Councillor Hull? For. Councillor Caliendo?
Against, Madam Mayor.
Councillor Canib?
Against, Madam Mayor.
Councillor Rhodes?
Obviously for, Madam Mayor.
Councillor Shelton?
For, thank you, Madam Mayor.
Thank you. I declare it lost. A foreshadowed motion. Councillor Haggerty?
As per the book.
As per the book.
Yep,
Seconded?
Yeah.
Who's seconding?
Councillor Balut.
Thank you, Councillor Balut. Seconding. Any discussion? I'll put it, if you could put the sheet up, please, George. Councillor Ayad?
Madam Mayor, I'm also against.
Okay. Councillor Balut?
For.
Thank you. Councillor Chitty?
For.
Councillor Did, Deputy Mayor?
For. Madam Mayor.
Councillor Haggerty.
For.
Councillor Hall.
For.
Councillor Calienda.
For, Madam Mayor.
Councillor Canib.
For, Madam Mayor.
Councillor Rhodes. Councillor Shelton.
For,
What
thank
were
you
you,
for me, Madam Mayor.
Thank you. Thank you,
Yes.
Councillor Rhodes.
For.
Thank you. I declare it carried. Thank you. Next items, committee reports. Commencing on page.
Madam Mayor.
No, Mayor, can I
Thank
pull out
you.
traffic, please?
Yep. So moved by Councillor Did, seconded by.
Can I pull out the Environment Advisory Committee and the Strategic Panel meeting?
Okay. Okay, there's two committees that we're moving. Moved by Councillor Did and seconded by
Happy to move.
Councillor Hall. I'll put it, those in favour, those against, declare it carried. First item is Committee 01 on page 153. It's
Yes.
the Environment one, Councillor Rhodes.
Yes, thank you, Madam Mayor. Just 2 points that I want to bring councillors' attention to is that the waste to energy item in that particular report that we just passed, or that is up before us now, could we add a motion in that council prepare a report on other council's various methods of waste to energy initiatives and report back to the committee?
Do you want to report it back to a strategic panel or to the committee, Councillor?
Yes, I'm sorry, that's the strategic panel one.
Panel.
I think.
Can I suggest what you do is you have a last point on the minutes that the council staff prepare a report on what is happening at other councils regards to waste conversion, and that be presented at a strategic panel.
Okay, happy.
It can always come back up at an environmental advisory committee, but they did discuss that, as you know, so I know what you're trying to achieve, so I suggest you do that.
All right. And a further one, the governance and internal controls over local infrastructure contributions. Council has recently made recommendations into unprecedented areas, I believe, with major long-term projects, some going over 30 and 40 years, the more point, and it involves the delivery of infrastructure and development contributions, and the risks of such projects have not really been addressed by this council that I know of, and I would like that matter to be directed to the ARIC committee and the contribution steering committee for councillor advice.
I will ask advice from the CEO on that matter.
Okay.
Thanks, Madam Mayor. In terms of the contributions gap, we've briefed councillors recently on that. Happy to bring back further information on that, and I'll ask Mr. Smith to add some more detail to that, please.
Certainly, through the CEO, we can, and we have briefed ARIC on the contributions matters. It's a key risk that's identified in Council's risk register to deal with contributions, gap funding, and pretty much all matters of contributions. So, absolutely, we can do that.
Do you believe that should also be before the strategic panel?
Through the CEO, we can certainly do that as well. So we've briefed the strategic panel on a range of contribution matters, and we can continue to do so, including PPA matters.
And I suppose we'll get the ARIC advice through their committee meeting minutes. Yes.
No.
Okay. Just then, Madam Mayor, the Now, this one is the Environment Advisory Committee meeting held on the 19th of October. The wild deer management. I would like to propose a motion that Council defer decisions on supporting the wild deer management program until it can be confirmed how many deer there are in the Liverpool LGA.
So that becomes a point 3.
And that one is directly related to the Environment Advisory Committee.
I imagine you need a point 4 that Council receives and notes the minutes as well.
That's what I was going to say. Thanks, Madam Mayor.
You're welcome, Councillor Shelton.
Thank you,
Notes,
Madam Mayor.
receives and notes the minutes, yeah, of the Environmental Advisory Committee held on the 19th of October. All right, seconder?
Yes, Madam Mayor.
Thank you, Councillor Hull. Would you like to speak to your motion, Councillor?
Well, Madam Mayor, I won't speak to the methods of waste to energy initiatives. I think that's pretty clear to everybody, that if there is other councils that are doing stuff, that it would be very helpful for councillors to know exactly what they're doing, because there are different methods being engaged by different councils. So that one's relatively self-explanatory. The wild deer management program, I feel that council needs to consider that if possible funding is paying for other LGAs who have a greater need of this service than perhaps Liverpool may have. At the address by Mr Parker at the EAC meeting, he had no figures on the actual numbers that may be in the Liverpool LGA, but conceded that they would expect there to be greater numbers in other less developed LGAs than Liverpool. So on the basis of that information, I just feel that it would be very prudent for council to find out exactly how many deer are in the Liverpool LGA before we start spending ratepayers' money trying to track them down and kill them. So that's the basis of that motion, Madam Mayor.
Thank you very much. Through the CEO, Mr Paisley has his hand up.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Mr Paisley. Tim, you're on mute. Madam Mayor, I can't speak for Tim, but I would imagine he would like to comment on the wording of the council motion. You'll recall that we committed further to the initial review of the Project 24 initiative that we would look at bringing further information back to council, which would be informed by state government's 20-year strategy, which is due fairly shortly. And I'll see if Mr Paisley is now available. If he's not, then I would suggest, Madam Mayor, that we don't restrict the wording of the motion to other councils' various methods of waste to energy initiatives. I think we keep it broader than that and look at best practice.
Okay. Councillor Rhodes, are you happy if we change it to best practice from other councils?
Yes, happy with that.
Okay. And then and that be reported back to the strategic panel. Okay, thank you. Councillor Shelton, you have your hand up?
Yes, just a comment. Thank you, Madam Mayor. The motion that was passed by the Environmental Advisory Committee, as set out on page 158 of the papers, was strongly supported by the committee. And that motion was that the committee recommends that council support and participate with the Greater Sydney Local Land Services, which is basically running its own show anyway, in the wild deer management program. There was one person who got her name reported as voting against, but the overall flavour of the meeting was supportive in relation to the actions of the Land Council. And I just pass that on. Thank you.
Thank you for that information, Councillor. Okay, are there any other speakers against? Any other speakers for?
Madam Mayor, in reflection to Councillor Shelton's comments, defer the decision on supporting the wild deer management program and take it back to the EAC committee for further discussion.
Okay, so refer the wild deer management program back to the committee. Yep?
Yeah.
Okay. For further discussion.
For further discussion.
Okay, all right. Happy to amend that. Is the seconder happy for that amendment?
Yes, Madam Mayor.
Thank you. Okay. I'm going to put it, if you could put, George, could you put up the voting sheet? You might have to make the names bigger. Thank you. Councillor Howard, are you for or against this?
I'm for, Madam Mayor.
Thank you. Councillor Balut? I'll come back. Councillor Hachidi?
For, Mayor.
Thank you. Deputy Mayor Hadid?
For, Madam Mayor.
Councillor Haggerty?
For.
Councillor Hall?
For.
Councillor Calienda?
For, Madam Mayor.
Councillor Canib?
For, Madam Mayor.
Councillor Rhodes?
Yes, for, Madam Mayor.
Thank you. Councillor Shelton?
You nearly got me there, Councillor Rhodes, but no, I'm sorry. I'm against.
Okay, thank you. The motion is carried. The next items on the next is Committee 03, the Liverpool Pedestrian Active Transport and Traffic Committee.
Mayor, I'll move that with one extra point, and then I'll speak to it if possible. And I've sent that through.
Certainly. Yep, go for it.
And the one point is for a treatment or a plan for a treatment to the pedestrian access or crossing outside of Brighton Lakes Golf Club. There's currently a roundabout there. On a couple of times, yes, I have sent it through, and it keeps coming back that it's not dangerous or there's no scope or there's no room for something. Sorry, that's supposed to ensure a safer crossing route, that bottom one. It always comes back as it can't be done. It's a dangerous intersection. After a few Sherbies where people don't want to drive and they actually want to walk home, it's very dangerous. Even during peak hour, it is a dangerous intersection. And I think we need to now find a solution instead of not finding one. And that's what that says. Consult with the committee, but come back with what we can do, not what we can't do. Thanks, Mayor.
Happy to second it, Madam Mayor.
Thank you, Councillor Dude. Seconded. We got anybody that wishes to speak against this? Councillor Sheldon, you have your hand up. Hands down. Okay.
Yeah, I'll take it down. Thanks, Madam Mayor.
Thank you. No other speakers for this matter? I'll put it. Any opposition? Declare it carried. Next item is the 04 minutes of strategic panel meeting.
I'll move them, Madam Mayor.
Madam Mayor, I have another motion then, a foreshadow motion.
Well, just hold on. Councillor Calian is moving. Seconded.
Shakarib.
Thank you, Councillor Kanib.
My pleasure.
Councillor Calienda, do you wish to talk to your motion?
No, pretty straightforward, Madam Mayor.
Thank you. Any opposition?
Yes, Madam Mayor, I'll speak against the motion.
Go ahead, Councillor Rhodes.
I think that this development needs greater consideration. I've got to say that I quite liked the look of the development, and I think that with further negotiation with the proponent around the various issues of density and flood mitigation and the other issues that were raised, I believe that this development is still worthy of council's endorsement. I also feel that there is an opportunity by collaborating with all of the developments in that particular area and possibly Bankstown Council and the state government to look at the inclusion of a bridge crossing across the Georges River. There's a lot of possibilities that could be in this particular development. I also feel that because it's got the bushland all around it and the river on the other side, it's probably about one of the best developments that has covered the issue of heat sinking.
Councillor, I think we're on the strategic panel meeting.
I thought we dealt with that, Madam Mayor.
No, we're on the strategic planning meeting.
All right, okay. What is the number of the item that we're talking about?
Committee 04.
Committee 04.
Page 2. Thank you. Is there any opposition? I'll put it those in favour, those against, declare it carried. Thank you. The next item on the agenda is 216, questions with notice, in the name of Councillor Ayad.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I just have a question regarding this.
Yes, certainly.
Does council usually follow people's comments on social media, or is it only because this particular individual happens to be the former mayor of Liverpool that they're following him and taking into consideration what he posts?
I'll ask the CEO for comments.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. In this particular case, there was clearly a general trend in support of the consultation, and where a significant spike such as occurred after the actual consultation date closed, where you have that significant spike, it leads to the questions of why is that pattern occurring? What does it mean? And then trying to undertake further investigation as to why it might have occurred. It became clearly a significant issue for members of the public, who then subsequently fed into the responses to that consultation session. And that seems to be the most probable direct explanation as to why that spike occurred when it did. But again, it's not a general thing there's always a general monitoring of social media by our communications team to try and pick up general issues.
Okay, and is that only for, if you like, persons of interest?
No.
Persons of interest like the former mayor, or is that anyone who is a ratepayer?
Not at all, Councillor. It's to do with where there are references to Liverpool. Then that tends to be, it's that, particular, or where there are references to Liverpool, that would be picked up by the media scanning company.
Okay.
Thank you. Sorry. Any other questions, Councillor?
No, Madam Mayor, thank you. I'd just like to add that this actually made me laugh when I saw the agenda. I found it quite funny, to be honest. That's all really I have to say, and it's
Thank you, Councillor. I'm glad it's that time of year.
Quite interesting that only Ned Manoon's post is in there, no one else's, because I'm sure there were many other ratepayers in Liverpool that did post something on social media. Thank you, Madam Mayor.
Thank you very much, Councillor. I appreciate that. Next item's on page 221 under the name of Councillor Caliendo.
Sorry, I was still on mute. That's fine. Thank you very much to staff for providing that response.
Wonderful. Next item is also in your name, and it's on page 231.
Also fine. Very happy with the response. Thank you, Madam Mayor.
Okay, next item is in your addendum booklet, and it's on page 5.
Do we have a nom, Madam Mayor?
Sorry?
Oh, sorry.
It's the addendum booklet on page number 5.
Yes, Madam Mayor. This was the one that I jumped over a page to, so I apologise to everybody.
Okay.
Okay.
You were just keen to get the meeting moving.
No, I'm keen to get the meeting over, Madam Mayor. I'm going to. I'm sorry.
No worries.
Yes, I would like to propose a motion for this particular.
Yes, what is your motion?
That council receive and note this report. 1. 2, council continue to negotiate with the proponent around issues of density flood mitigation. And I believe we would have to include and note the correspondence from the Department of Planning and Industry Environment about the regional flood evacuation study. And they're really encouraging us that these developments should be collaborating together. So that would be a repeat of number 3. There it is up. And investigate the opportunities, number 4, to collaborate with neighbouring developments, Bankstown Council and the state government for the possible inclusion of a bridge across the Georges River. And the last one is defer a decision on whether to forward this planning proposal request to the Department of Planning and Industry for gateway determination until the regional flood study and a further report to council regarding issue 2 above has been completed in March or April next year.
I'll foreshadow, Mayor.
Thank you. We've got a seconder for Councillor Rhodes's motion.
Happy to second, Mayor.
Yes, Mayor.
With
Thank you, Councillor Chitty.
changes. Mayor, if I can, at this point, in point number 4 of Councillor Rhodes, with that there, can that be at a point where maybe we know that there is merit in this instead of doing all the work and then people spending money and time and everything else? So get them to sort out all the other issues first before we start talking about that.
I think what I might do is ask the CEO to ask the appropriate staff member to make a comment on the actual motion.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I'll ask Mr. Smith.
Thank you. Through the CEO, the recommendation in the book has been put forward. A full assessment of the application has been undertaken by council officers. The current proposal does not exhibit strategic or site-specific merit. That's also been endorsed by the local planning panel. What we have identified in point 3 of the recommendation is that we do invite the proponent to consider the information contained in the planning assessment report and the advice of the Liverpool local planning panel and put forward an amended planning proposal that addresses, firstly, strategic merit. No proposal can proceed unless it is aligned with the regional district plans, the local strategic planning statement, ministerial directions. Once you get through that hoop, then we need to address the multitude of site constraints in this precinct and on this site specifically.
Thank you very much, Mr. Smith. Okay. Councillor Hitchity, you have your hand up? Your hand's up?
I'll ask a question, I suppose. So to
Yep.
Mr. Smith, through you, Mayor, CEO.
Yep.
The council officer's recommendation is inviting them to look at different things, and this is just deferring it and inviting them to look at things. I think we're all in agreement that there's still some issues here, but does it really matter if it's deferred or if it's start all over again?
I'll ask the CEO to get someone to comment.
Mr. Smith.
Thank you, Councillor. And through the CEO, there's absolutely nothing wrong with the recommendation put forward by the councillor. It can be deferred for an amended planning proposal. Our recommendation was that we have assessed the current planning proposal, and so we were seeking a decision from council that proposal is not supported, but an amended planning proposal that addresses the issues that are identified in the planning officer's report and through the advice of the local planning panel be brought forward.
Can I keep going for a second, mate?
Yes, certainly.
Thank you. Now, I understand the position, and I thank you for the briefing the other day with Mr. Ostie that was in there as well. Why can't we give clear direction on what we think may or may not work? I still don't get it that as a council, when we see a plan, we just say, no, this doesn't work, give us another one. Now, that can happen 30, 40, 50 times. Why can't we just give clear direction and advice on what we think may work and then use that as a starting point?
Mr. Smith?
That's exactly what we try to do. So when a proponent puts forward, it's different in this case because this isn't a council-initiated planning proposal. The developer put forward what they wanted to see on that site. So our job is to then assess that proposal that they've put forward. What we have said to them is we're happy to work with them. And this report was obviously brought to council in December from a previous resolution of council that required it to be reported to council by December. Ordinarily, I would prefer to work through the issues once our assessment is finalised, once the local planning panel has made their determination, to see what other opportunities there are available on that site. But that obviously needs the proponent to consider their situation and their circumstances. They own the site. They've put forward a planning proposal. But, of course, we're happy to work with them on what it is that they're wanting to do to determine whether or not it meets strategic merit, firstly, and then secondly, whether it meets site-specific merit.
So, sorry, Mayor, if you don't mind. Do any of our documents, LSPS or any other document, refer this to a site that could meet those site-specific or tick those boxes?
Through the CEO, the LSPS identifies this as an investigation area for urban development. So there is, as identified in the report, an element of strategic support for some sort of development on that site. We just need to work with the proponent to ensure that what is ultimately proposed meets also the regional plan and the district plan. Because this is an out-of-centre location and the significant density proposed, no public transport available in this precinct. Transport for New South Wales has raised concerns, as has officers in the local planning panel. But in answer to your question, there is an element of strategic support within Council's local strategic planning statement.
Thank you, everyone. Thanks.
Thank you. Councillor Ayard, did you wish to speak for or against the motion or ask a question?
Madam Mayor, I'm for the motion, but I did just want to ask the mover and the seconder if they'd be happy to add another point. Just with a boardwalk there along the river, I really think that needs to be reconsidered. The design and construction of a boardwalk needs to be reconsidered as part of a river revitalisation plan or vision, if you like. I mean, that can be the new bay run, of the southwest, or even I had in my mind something similar to the walk at Breakfast Point and around Cabarita. I don't know if any of the councillors have been there, but it's actually a really nice walk, and people actually walk around, and what they do, they walk to the local cafe, grab a coffee, and then kind of walk back. And I think that's something that we're missing. And I mean, the river's there. We need to utilise that area. So I would love for that to be added as a 0.6.
So your question is, could we have another point that looks at a possibility of a boardwalk along the Georges River?
Yeah.
Okay.
And that would
the mover and seconder happy with that?
I've got no issue, but I thought that would be a given with any development along the river. So, yeah, no issue.
Yeah, I just want to be sure that that's included. And I think with that, it also needs to be suggested to all the property owners and proponents that have put in DA, along the river, because I believe it'd be more than one that has to contribute to that, and it'd be an overall vision. where they'd have to kind of design and implement together along with council.
Well, I think you've already heard from the council staff member who said they're basically still negotiating, so I'm sure they'll take those comments on board. Thank you for that, Councillor Ed. Councillor Haggerty, are you speaking against the motion?
No, I was going to withdraw my foreshadowed now.
Okay.
Is happy
All
with
right.
it, but isn't there already a strategic or some kind of strategic plan or document to basically walk the length of the Georges River through the LGA eventually? So if it's the river crossings and boardwalks and other.
I'll ask the CEO for the.
Correct, Councillor.
Okay, so yep. So I guess point 6 is already sort of in there, but yeah, if we put that in there, that's fine. One more thing. It seems to have dropped off, but in the recommendation in the papers, we noted the advice of the Liverpool, the local planning panel, and we haven't done that here. Is there? Do we need to? Would the mover and seconder take that on board if the council staff felt it appropriate, or is it? Yeah.
Through the CEO, I'll ask the the council person, to make a comment on that, whether it needs to be included.
My view would be, Madam Mayor, that it is implicit within point 1, where you say receive and note this report. The report includes, we go up, if we scroll up, it includes reference to note the advice of the Liverpool local planning panel.
Okay. Thank you. Okay, we've had speakers for, almost speakers against. Is there any opposition to this motion?
Madam Mayor?
Yes, Councillor Hull.
I have a comment on that may change people's mind. The last point was to put a boardwalk along there. Boardwalks are generally not put along flood-prone areas like our Georges River, and that's one reason why we couldn't put it at the Shepherd Street complex, if you remember. And what Councillor Ayard was referring to, those boardwalks are usually in tidal areas or areas where you do not get flooding and the water level remains reasonably constant. Just be aware of that. You may not be able to do this.
Should we change the word boardwalk to shared path?
Or could we just put in the word consider design and construction?
Well, may I suggest, given none of us are planners, that we maybe ask some planners what we should be putting through the CEO.
Madam Mayor, thank you. It might be a question for Mr. Autar on the engineering side.
Sorry.
Through the CEO, I think the having a recommendation that says consider options, I guess, to provide a fully accessible shared path or pathway that allows the design team to look at various options, whether it is a shared path above ground or even a boardwalk, where some places may be suitable for it. So we just need flexibility, I guess. But noting also that this is at this stage a planning proposal. It will go through a process of various investigations in design to get that, I guess, the vision that our CEO talked about earlier, which is covered in the master plan for Georges River. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Okay. Is there any opposition to this?
Madam Mayor?
Yes, Councillor.
I'm not opposed. I just want to know, is this going to come back to us in April? Is that what the outline? Sorry, I can't see it on my screen.
It says further report to Council regarding issues raised and that have been completed by April 2021.
Thank you, Madam.
So I would read that will be another report coming back to Council on it.
Thank you.
Okay. Is there any opposition? I'm just trying to save George have to put up everything. This one has to be everybody's name. So this one's unanimous for the typist. Thank you. The next item is on page 951 of your addendum book. And can I draw Council's attention to a memo from Mr. Smith?
Happy to move the memo, Madam Mayor.
Thank you. Yes, what's your question, Councillor Chitty?
Through yourself to the CEO, it says in that to bring it back to us. Is there a way where we can say, okay, this looks good now, if the flood report doesn't say anything, just send it off so we're not getting another 3,000 pages?
Through the CEO.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I'll confirm that through Mr. Smith.
Yes, thank you. Through the CEO, absolutely. The council can choose to delegate the authority to the CEO to finalise the preparation of a planning proposal once 1 to 3, or effectively 2 and 3 have been finalised. So it doesn't have to come back to council, and it can be referred to the Department of Planning for a gateway determination. As you'll recall, it's already been to the local planning panel, so there is no need, if council doesn't wish, for it to have to come back to council. Of course, if there are significant changes as a result of that, we would use our discretion and put it up to council for decision.
Thank you, Mayor. Can I just change that to read, unless there's anything drastic, that we endorse this, we give it to the CEO, delegate to him to send it off to Gateway. Just saves us getting another report for something we've already seen.
Okay, thank you. See the seconder?
Happy to second, Madam Mayor.
Thank you, Councillor Hall. So we've got the motion, receiver note, deferred decision, and a point 4 that delegate the CEO to refer this to Gateway on satisfactory completion of all issues, outstanding issues. Okay, any opposition? I'm going to say that this is unanimous. Thank you.
So,
next item. Yep.
Just on that one, in point 3, we've got defer a decision.
Oh, yes, sorry.
Sorry.
No. Defer a decision on whether to forward a planning. I'll just take it out, I'd say. Just take 3 out and 4 becomes 3. That way the CEO does the judgment on satisfactory outcomes.
If that's what
okay, thank you for that. There's no opposition, so I'm declaring it unanimous. Next item in your addendum book is Corpo 3, and it's on page 1476.
Move that way. Thank you, Madam Mayor.
Second.
Who was Councillor?
Yeah.
Any discussion? I'll put it. Those in favour, those against, carried. Presentations by councillors. Any presentations? Okay, next item is page 234 in your normal agenda book, and it's local and regional planning panels in the name of Councillor Rhodes. Oh, no, it's not. That's a pin.
Councillor Haggerty.
Sorry, I missed a page. Yep.
Yeah.
Councillor Haggerty.
Yeah, look, this one's straightforward. The local planning panel normally meets on a Monday at 2 o'clock, which for a couple reasons is very inconvenient. The first being it's on a weekday during work time, and the second being it's during school pickup time. So for a lot of residents that want to raise concerns or even speak in support of a development, they find it very difficult to make this meeting. And likewise, the Southwest Planning Panel, Sydney, Western Sydney, whatever it's called, Planning Panel, meets during the daytime. Now, I know we can't direct them, but we can certainly write to them on behalf of our residents, almost without fail, maybe once every month or once every couple months, a bunch of residents are frustrated by the fact that they're unable to speak at this, and they'll normally get a resident to speak on their behalf, but they would much more prefer to actually be there in person, and if they want to, put their hand up and speak. So it's important that the community have their say about the kind of development that goes on in their neighbourhoods and their community, and that's what this is about. So I'd like to think everyone would want to support that. Thank you.
Happy to second
Thank you.
Mayor.
Thank you, Councillor Did. Is there any opposition? I'll put it. Those.
Yes. Sorry, Madam Mayor.
No, go for it, Councillor Hull.
Just one point on this. I don't believe you will find a suitable time that suits everybody. We've gone through this so many times before, Weekends are not necessarily any good for people either. Having them after hours, remember that a panel that looks at this, you get the public input first, and then you have to get the panel to decide on the outcome of that. If they're going to be doing this at night time, the panel members won't get home before midnight. So you've got the same problem. I don't think there's an answer to it. I think leave the status quo. If people are concerned about this to the point that they need to have a say, they will come there. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much, Councillor Hull. Anybody else wishes to speak for the motion? Any other speakers against? Do you wish your right of reply, Councillor Haggerty?
Madam Mayor,
all good.
I speak against the motion, if I may.
Well, I've just called the right of reply, so no, I'm sorry.
I didn't.
Okay.
You heard.
So, okay. So those that are against the motion, please put up the chart, please, George. Okay, Councillor Ayard.
I'm against.
Against. Councillor Balut. Councillor Chitty.
For.
Deputy Mayor Adid.
For.
Councillor Haggerty.
For.
Councillor Hull.
Sorry,
against. I would imagine.
Sorry, against.
That's okay. Councillor Caliendo.
For, Madam Mayor.
Thank you. Councillor Khalid.
For, Madam Mayor.
Councillor Rhodes.
I agree with Peter. Against.
Thank you. Councillor Shelton.
It's close, but for.
Okay. I declare the matter carried. Next item is in the name of Councillor, I'll get it right this time, Councillor Rhodes, on page 235.
That would be me, Madam Mayor. Look, I thank Council for their additional information on this motion, and I am appreciative of the fact that Liverpool Council assisted and contributed to the preparation of the toolkit. But simply this motion is about how we can use it as a council, and how councillors can take it on board and utilise the information in it and integrate the urban heat planning mitigation into Liverpool's councils, LEP, DCPs, and I think BASIC should be in there as well on number B. So, you know, it's interesting that the Minister announced his desire to redress BASICs in order to deliver more Liverpool communities. Councillors, you know, all councillors of this council have been stating for quite some time, as well as the council planners themselves, that there are things that we can do that can make differences, and there's never been a better time, now that the Minister is interested in redressing BASICs, for us to go ahead and to do this. But we're not going to be able to do it alone, and we are going to need the support of our fellow councils in neighbouring areas to engage in a joint submission to DPIE and call for the revision of BASICs, and we have to have the ideas to submit of what we would like to see in it. So that is the basic purpose around this particular motion. I may not have worded it in the most appropriate manner, but the intention is very clear. This is an opportunity for council, and it's something that councillors would like to engage in, and I think that the workshop would give us the opportunity to do that.
Thank you, Councillor Rose. Do we have a seconder?
Yes, Madam Mayor.
Thank you, Councillor Hull. Any speakers against?
I'll just speak against because...
Yes, go ahead, Councillor Haggerty.
I'm happy to support it. My issue is When we've previously held councillor workshops on single item issues, I think the attendance has been poor, poorer than it normally is. It'd be great if all councillors turned up to briefings and workshops. Unfortunately, that's rarely the case. So in order to, I guess, get a better outcome here, Councillor Rhodes, would you be open to holding this sort of, as part of a strategic briefing, or one of the regular meetings? So either a briefing or whatever that strategy meeting's called.
Strategic panel.
That's the one. It's very, very late in the night and very late in the year. I just wanted to make sure that as many people as possible, councillors, get along to this, because it is an important issue. So if we held it as part of or either side of one of our other meetings, I think that'd be the best way to go about it.
What you're suggesting is incorporate this topic into a council strategic panel meeting.
Madam Mayor, I'm not
before April 2021.
Yes.
Madam Mayor, I'm not happy to do that.
Okay, that's fine.
Sorry, I appreciate your concern, Councillor Haggerty, but I don't think moving it into a strategic panel is going to make 1 ounce of difference to the attendance that you're talking about. I think that I can only really stress how important it is for councillors to engage in this and for them to really turn up to a specific workshop where we're specifically talking about this particular issue, because it does need our attention. We need to do this for the residents and the constituents in Liverpool. And for that reason, I don't think we'd be doing it justice by putting it into a strategic planning panel. And I don't think that by doing that, you're going to make 1 ounce of difference as to who turns up. So I'm sorry, Councillor. I'd love.
Thank you, Councillor. I'm going to call that your right of reply. Basically, because you've already spoken and you've now been able to address the issues raised by Councillor Haggerty. Okay, I'm going to put it to the vote. George, can you put up the sheet, please? All right, Councillor Ayard.
Madam Mayor, you'll have to excuse me. I really don't know what we're voting on. My children were all over me.
Okay, well, what we're talking about is a workshop to deal with, particularly with heat and the way it affects our buildings and our environment, I would suggest.
We're on NOM 02?
We're on NOM 02, yep.
Okay, can I just have a minute just to read what's before us, and then...
Well, I'll keep going and I'll come back to you. Councillor Balut?
Oh, yeah, just leave it there.
Councillor Balut? Okay. Councillor Chittick?
4.
Thank you. Deputy Mayor Hadid?
4, Madam Mayor.
Councillor Haggerty?
4.
Councillor Hull?
4.
Councillor Kanib?
4.
Councillor Calienda? Councillor Calienda?
4, Madam Mayor. Thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Rhodes?
Yes, 4, Madam Mayor.
Thank you. Councillor Shelton?
4, thank you, Madam Mayor.
Okay, I know that we have people on the list that haven't said anything, but the numbers have it, so it's been carried. We're going to have a 10-minute break, and we'll be back at the list that councillors wish to deal with in confidence. Closed session.
The last 2, Mayor, if that's okay.
06 and 07?
Please.
Okay. All right, well, we'll close it at that point. So the first item is Conf 01 on page 376.
Move that way, thank you, Madam Mayor.
Seconded, Madam Mayor.
Moved Councillor Sheldon and seconded Councillor Did. Is there any opposition? I'll put it. Those in favour, those against, declare it carried. The next item is on page 380.
Move it, Madam Mayor.
Thank you.
Sorry, Madam Mayor, I should also have declared an interest in this one for the same reason as
everybody else.
Same reason as the previous one. I serve on the same board, so I'll just add that to the list.
All right, no problem. So moved by Councillor Didd, seconded by?
Sorry, happily second it.
Thank you, Councillor Hall. Any opposition?
Madam Mayor, I have a alteration or a foreshadowed motion.
Well, the motion is actually on the books. It's been moved and seconded, so you'll have to, if your amendment to the motion is acceptable to the mover and seconder, that would be fine. But it better not, it can't breach the confidence, okay?
No, I won't, Madam Mayor. I'll be very careful. Look, Madam Mayor, I would just like the mover and the seconder to consider that we change the number of community representatives on the charter to a maximum of 20 community representatives. That would be accepting all people who applied plus the 2 existing members. I'd also suggest that we leave the quorum as it currently stands. Now, the reason why, should I talk now about that, Madam Mayor? The reason why I think this would be a better thing for us to do is because in the past 4 years, the biggest issue was in achieving a quorum for all meetings. And obviously the community members, and it's great to see so many people put their hands up, but they're not always going to be available to attend the meeting. The quorum should remain the same because it's no point in putting the quorum up as it only stops meetings from proceedings, and the committee only makes recommendations that then have to be passed by council anyway. But if we have a quorum, it gives the members ample opportunity who were not there and possibly do not agree with the recommendation to have their say, if not present, and for the matter to then be addressed at the council meeting. But the additional people would contribute a more diverse number of ideas and assist the growth of our visitor economy and the CBD. If experience counts, we can expect definitely not all members to turn up to this meeting. I've been on this particular committee since it was first put together, and it has been a struggle. And a lot of that is because the very important people have very busy lives and sometimes they're just not available. The other thing is the council manages district forum meetings with as many members as this is proposed in this motion. So it is not unreasonable for us to accept everybody who applied. And I would ask that the mover and seconder of the motion consider that we do that.
Okay, well, I'll ask Councillor Adid and Councillor Hall whether they're happy to accept your amendment.
Happy to accept.
Councillor Adid?
Oh, sorry, I don't mind that.
Okay, they're happy to have that adopted into the motion. Thank you. Ow. Okay, so someone like to speak to the motion?
I have a question.
Yes, Councillor Haggerty, your hand's up. What is your question?
Is there something in the code of meeting practice that sort of says you have to turn up to meetings? These people shouldn't be applying to sit on committees if they can't commit to attending them.
I'll ask through the CEO, through the appropriate staff member, what happens if people don't turn up to meetings?
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Well, it is set out within the Code of Meeting Practice that if you fail to attend as a committee member, if you fail to attend without giving an acceptable reason for 3 consecutive meetings, then you lose your place on that committee.
Okay, so, and I note Councillor Rhodes' comment about the district forums. The district forums are, I guess, forums. They're sort of consultative community forums where this is a committee of council. And she also made the point that I think we're probably close to half a dozen cracks at this committee in one way or another, trying to make it work and get quorum and folding it into other committees. Do we need to look at perhaps dissolving this as a committee and just making it a forum? Just putting that out.
Okay, can I speak for the motion then, Madam Mayor?
Yes, you can speak for the motion, Councillor.
All right, the reason why I don't believe that we should make it a forum, I think that this committee is getting better and better. I believe that the council staff do a remarkable job with this committee meeting, and that makes no difference to them whether they're presenting what they've got to present to 8 people or 10 people or 20 people. But what you will find is that the people that we have down who have accepted and have every intention of turning up to these meetings, and we only have them, what is it, every second month, Madam Mayor? I believe it is, only every second month, so you've only got 6, so you can miss 3. There were many members that did miss more than 3 meetings last lot of committee member meetings or members, but I note that those people, and there were only 4 people that made the quorum that turned up consistently, and I note that only 2 of those people would be currently included in this particular new committee, and one of them wasn't put onto the selection list, and I know that that person will turn up to these meetings. And as much as people feel that they want to turn up, you know, it's just held at a busy time in the morning, and they have business commitments that they've got to meet. So, and I'm only speaking from experience to tell you exactly what has happened at this committee over the last 4 years. So
Thank you,
I want
Councillor.
to ask for councillors to increase the number of community representatives to the maximum number, and I think you will find that this committee will work very, very well.
Thank you, Councillor. Anybody wish to speak against the motion? Nobody? Okay, I'm going to put the motion.
I put my hand up for the questions, Madam Mayor.
Yes, Councillor did.
So the
I didn't
question
see your
is,
hand.
do we need to amend the charter to be able to increase the numbers of the community representatives?
Yeah, that's
I'll ask the CEO to make comment on that. Thank you, Councillor. CEO?
Thanks, Madam Mayor. If I can take that on notice, but my recollection is that there is no limit placed on the number of committee members.
Okay, if you can check, please. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you. All right. Who would like to vote? I'll just do it this way because it's probably easier. Who would like to vote against the motion? Please speak up. Nobody? So that I'm going to take is everybody is voting for. Thank you. The next item is on page 393.
Happy to move it, Madam Mayor.
Second, Madam Mayor.
Thank you, Councillor Hull. And Councillor. Any opposition? I'll put it, those in favour, those against, declare it carried. Next item's on page 397.
Happy to move that too.
Happy to second it, Councillor Rhodes.
Thank you, Councillor Rhodes. Is there any opposition?
No opposition, but can I thank council staff for their work on this one? I was the one that put up the original notice of motion, and good to see they're following through on this one quite quickly, and it looks like it may bring some very good results. So thank you, and keep up the good work.
So you deserve to move it.
I don't care.
Thank you. Okay. Next item's on page 407.
Question, Mayor.
Yes, Councillor.
Through yourself to probably through the CEO, then to George. And I don't think I'm breaking anything here, but there was something raised in State Parliament in relation to parking meters. Are we affected at all? Have you had a chance to look at it, and are we affected?
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Mr. Hampouris.
Thank you. Through the CEO, I don't believe we are affected. However, I recall reading through the content, but I can't recollect the details around that. So it's something I probably need to take on notice and get back to you.
Thank you.
Okay, is there any opposition? A mover and a seconder would be useful.
Happy to move it, Madam Mayor.
Thank you, Councillor Hall. Seconded?
I'll second
it.
Councillor Rhodes. Is there any opposition? Then I'll deem it unanimous. We now move into confidential forum, and don't leave because people want to say Merry Christmas, etc. So the first motion that was actually moved and seconded in closed session was that the council defer a decision on this listing of this property till a further report is presented on other means to ensure the current landowner does not endure any hardship by council's decision. 2, the next item was that council note the council's New South Wales Treasury Corp loan application is currently under consideration and waiting approval. Delegate authority to the Mayor and the CEO to furnish and complete any required documentation to Treasury to facilitate the approval. Delegate authority to the CEO to invite expressions of interest from commercial and financial institutions to lend approximately 40% of the project costs. Delegate authority to the Mayor and the CEO to complete and submit and execute any required loan application documents to secure the borrowings from the preferred commercial or financial institution. Authorise use of council's common seal in the loan documents if required. Authorise the CEO to engage in appropriate qualified accounting firm to undertake a comprehensive review of the PDA to identify the financial implications. Endorse the inclusion of the co-living accommodation as part of the development works in the Liverpool City Place. Delegate authority to the CEO to negotiate and execute any changes to the project development agreement and build holdings subject to legal advice, and direct the CEO to report any such amendments to the strategic panel once agreed, and keeps confidential the attachments supplied under separate cover pursuant to provisions of Section A2C of the Local Government Act 1993 as information would, if disclosed, confer a commercial advantage on a person with whom council is conducting business, and staff bring back responses to questions raised in the closed session by the end of February 2021. The meeting, having said that, that was carried, and Councillor Chitty wanted his name voting against it. At this point, I will turn over to the CEO.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Just a couple of words of thanks on behalf of the executive management team to you and all of our councillors. It's been a very, very difficult year. We thank you for your support, your encouragement, and all of your hard work. And we wish you a well-deserved break and a very happy, healthy, and peaceful new year. Thank you.
Thank you. And I'd like to wish my colleagues a safe and happy Christmas and New Year. And unfortunately, that virus is still hanging around. There was something on the system, I think yesterday, saying go and get tested. But I'm sure we're pretty resilient, and in the fullness of time, it will be okay. But I hope all your families are safe, and I hope that everything that you wish to happen over the holiday season in a positive way happens. And thank you very much for your support in a very difficult year.
Likewise, Madam Mayor.
Mayor, and as a final time as a councillor, Merry Christmas to everyone. To all the staff, I know that we get into heated discussions at time or discussions. I know that we're all in it for the right reason, and I thank all staff for all their support and work that they do and have done during the year. And to my fellow councillors, it's been another interesting year. Look forward to 2021. Thanks, man.
Thank you. Anybody else wish to?
Yeah, I'd just like to let everyone know that I've continued my tradition of wearing a Christmas-themed tie for the December meeting. This is now the 5th year in a row, and I have this time a much more tasteful tie that has lots of little Santas on it. So, yes, Merry Christmas, enjoy the break.
I wore a hat.
Excellent.
And I'd like to apologise for my performance on Teams today.
Yes, I think you need a new one.
Well, I'll
Happy
join.
Christmas, everyone.
Yeah, I'll join with
wish for
everybody.
everyone
Like a
Merry
very
Christmas
Merry
and Happy
Christmas
New Year.
Sorry, I'm
Yeah.
talking to somebody.
Merry Christmas and Happy New Year. It's lovely to even briefly see people in their Christmas get-up. Here's hoping that next year we're able to actually have meetings in person again. Although I don't know if everyone agrees with that, but anyway.
Well, we had 40 people in it. We had 40 people in attendance at tonight's meeting, so there you go.
Oh, wonderful.
I would just like to wish everybody a very Merry Christmas, and I like robust discussions at council, and I look forward to doing it again next year. So thank you.
Well, my colleague, I wish you a very Merry Christmas and a Happy New Year.